Please subscribe to this channel and support us so we can post new sci-fi stories every day. Your support keeps us going. The massive arena fell silent as the transport cage descended from the orbital platform, its reinforced uranium walls barely containing the shadow that moved within. Ambassador Kethfer of the Hegemony stood before the assembled Galactic Council, his forearms spread wide in ceremonial display. Esteemed delegates, his voice boomed across the amphitheater. Behold, the apex predator of our Emperor, creature that has never known defeat, never shown submission. The cage touched down with a thunderous impact that sent tremors through the crystalline floor. Inside, something massive shifted, and the sound of claws scraping metal made even the veteran warriors in attendance unconsciously step back. Whispers rippled through the crowd like wind through leaves. The Vrex delegation clicked their mandibles nervously, while the towering Gorvani soldiers gripped their ceremonial weapons tighter. Everyone had heard the legends. This beast had torn through entire battalions, had faced the greatest champions of a dozen worlds, and left only scattered armor in its wake. It had been captured at tremendous cost from a death world at the galaxy's edge, a planet where evolution had crafted the perfect killing machine. Yet even its captors, the mighty Hegemony, had never truly tamed it. The creature served them out of some primitive understanding of mutual benefit, but submit, never. Dr. Elias Ward sat quietly in the human observation section, a single figure dwarfed by the towering alien dignitaries around him. His weathered hands moved steadily across his datapad, recording atmospheric readings, noting the subtle pheromone changes in the air, cataloging the behavioral patterns of the various species present. At 63, he had spent most of his life studying predator-prey relationships, first on Earth's African plains, then among the stars. The other delegates barely acknowledged his presence. Humans were still newcomers to this galactic community, tolerated more than respected. A Hegemony noble, resplendent in crystalline armor, gestured dismissively toward the human section. "See how the prey species huddles," he said loudly enough for many to hear. "Perhaps they sense what true power looks like." Laughter echoed from several delegations, sharp and cruel. The human contingent, all 12 of them, remained silent, accustomed to such treatment. They were here as observers only, invited as a diplomatic courtesy, rather than from any recognition of strength or importance. The arena floor began to iris open, revealing the creature within. What emerged defied easy description, part reptile, part something far more ancient. It stood 12 feet tall at the shoulder, its hide a deep obsidian that seemed to absorb light itself. Muscled coils beneath that armor-like skin spoke of power that could crush steel. But it was the eyes that truly commanded attention, burning amber orbs that held an intelligence both alien and terrifyingly familiar. When it roared, the sound wasn't just heard but felt, vibrating through bone and sinew, triggering every prey instinct encoded in genetic memory. Ambassador Kethfer's voice cut through the echoing silence. "This creature recognizes only true dominance. It has tested every species we have presented to it, and found them all, wanting." He paused for dramatic effect, savoring the tension that hung thick as smoke in the air. "Today, we shall see which among the Council's finest can command its respect, which species truly deserves to stand at the apex of galactic civilization." The first to step forward was General Throck of the Mondorian Empire, a being whose species had conquered 17 systems through sheer military might. His exoskeleton gleamed with ceremonial scarring, each mark representing a world brought to heel. He approached the beast with the confidence of one who had never known defeat, his stance radiating the authority that had bent star systems to his will. "Kneel," he commanded, his voice carrying the weight of absolute power. The predator studied him for a long moment, head tilting slightly as if considering. Then, with casual indifference, it turned away, settling onto its haunches to groom one massive claw. The dismissal was so complete, so utterly without acknowledgement, that several delegates gasped. General Throck's mandibles clicked in fury, but even he was not foolish enough to press the matter further. He retreated to his delegations section, dignity barely intact. One by one, they came forward, the greatest warriors, the most feared commanders, the apex representatives of species that had carved empires from the void, the Corvani War Master, whose people had never lost a ground engagement, the Hive Queen of Sector Prime, whose pheromonal commands could control millions, the Vorthan Champion, gene-crafted for perfection. Each approached with their own brand of confidence, their own certainty of natural superiority. Each was ignored, dismissed, or in one memorable case, swatted aside with enough force to send the would-be alpha tumbling across the arena floor. As the failures mounted, unease spread through the assembly like a contagion. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. The creature was supposed to recognize someone, submit to the natural order that placed the strong above the weak. Instead, it seemed almost bored by the parade of would-be masters, occasionally yawning to display fangs the size of combat knives. Lord Vexhai of the hegemony's inner circle leaned forward in his floating throne, his multifaceted eyes gleaming with amusement as they fell upon the human section. "Perhaps," he said, his synthesized voice carrying clearly across the arena, "we should allow the prey species an opportunity." His tone dripped with mockery. "After all, they're so diminutive. Perhaps that's what our pet prefers." The laughter that followed was uglier now, tinged with frustration and the need to restore some sense of natural order. Humans as apex predators. The very concept was absurd. They had no natural weapons, no armor plating, no size advantage. They were soft, short-lived creatures from a backwater world who had somehow stumbled into space travel. Dr. Ward felt every eye in the amphitheater turned toward him as Ambassador Kethver gestured grandly. "The Council invites humanity's representative to attempt an audience with our apex predator." The words were formal, but the underlying message was clear. "Step forward so we can watch you fail and restore the proper order of things." Rising slowly from his seat, Elias Ward walked down the steps toward the arena floor. His movements were unhurried, almost meditative, the gait of someone comfortable in their own skin despite the hostile attention. Behind him, he could hear the whispered conversations, the barely contained laughter, the odds being calculated on how quickly he would retreat. None of it touched him. He had faced down charging elephants in the Serengeti, had locked eyes with great whites in the deep Pacific, had earned the respect of apex predators that most of these aliens couldn't even imagine. The arena floor felt solid beneath his feet as he approached the creature. Around them, absolute silence fell. Even the ventilation systems seemed to hush, as if the station itself was holding its breath. The predator's massive head turned toward him, those burning amber eyes fixing on his small human form with the same dismissive assessment it had given all the others. But then something changed. The great nostrils flared, sampling his scent with deep, analytical breaths. The creature's entire posture shifted, massive frame going from casual indifference to focused attention. Its head tilted, studying him with an intensity that made several delegates unconsciously step back from the viewing barriers. For a heartbeat that stretched into eternity, human and beasts regarded each other across millions of years of evolutionary divergence. Then, slowly, impossibly, the creature's great head began to lower. Its front legs folded, bringing that massive frame down until its chin nearly touched the arena floor. The gesture wasn't submission, it was recognition, acknowledgement, respect. The silence that followed was so complete that the sound of Dr. Ward's breathing seemed thunderous. Gasps erupted from the viewing sections as the impossible sight registered. The apex predator, the creature that had dismissed generals and warchiefs, that had ignored the commands of empire builders and world conquerors, was bowing to a human. Elias raised one weathered hand, palm open, fingers relaxed. The gesture was gentle, non-threatening, the same motion he might use to approach a nervous horse or a wounded wolf. The creature's massive head moved closer, drawn by something in that simple gesture that spoke of understanding rather than dominance. "Impossible," breathed Ambassador Kethver, his synthesized voice cracking with disbelief. There must be some trick, some technology, ... But the scanners showed nothing, no pheromones, no psychic manipulation, no technological interference, just a small human male standing calmly before a creature that could end him with a casual swipe. And that creature choosing to show him a respect it had granted to no other. Dr. Ward's voice carried clearly in the stunned silence. "It recognizes something older than fear," he said simply, "something that runs deeper than simple dominance." The words triggered something in the collective memory of the assembly, though none could quite name what. Around the arena, delegates leaned forward, straining to understand what they were witnessing. "You see," Elias continued, never taking his eyes off the creature, "my species has a unique relationship with predators. We didn't evolve to be the strongest or the fastest or the most well-armed. The great beast's breathing had synchronized with his, deep and steady, as if they shared some ancient rhythm. We evolved to be partners. Images flashed through the minds of those who knew Earth's history: wolves running alongside human hunters, their predatory instincts channeled toward mutual survival; horses carrying warriors into battle, their power and speed directed by human intelligence; big cats trained to hunt alongside their human companions; apex predators choosing cooperation over conquest, while other species were developing bigger claws or thicker armor. Dr. Ward said, "We were learning something different. We were learning to communicate with the predators of our world, to earn their respect, to make them our allies rather than our enemies." His hand moved slightly, and the creature's great head followed the motion like a compass needle seeking true north. We didn't tame them, we didn't dominate them. We formed partnerships that made both species stronger. The implications rippled through the assembly like shockwaves. If humanity's relationship with predators was truly based on mutual respect rather than subjugation, if they had evolved not to dominate but to cooperate with apex species, what does this mean? The question came from the Vrex delegation, their translator giving voice to the uncertainty that gripped the entire council. Elias finally stepped back, and the creature remained in its respectful pose for a long moment before slowly rising to its full, intimidating height. But something had changed in its posture, stood near the human not as a potential threat, but as a guardian. "It means," Dr. Ward said quietly, "that respect is a language that transcends species barriers. This creature doesn't bow to strength, it recognizes partnership potential. It sees in humanity what we've always been, a species that survives not by being the apex predator, but by earning the loyalty of those who are." The arena remained silent as the full weight of this revelation settled over the assembly. Humanity, the soft, weak, supposedly inferior species that they had barely tolerated, had just demonstrated a form of power that none of their empires, none of their weapons, none of their conquests could match. As Dr. Ward walked calmly toward the arena exit, the massive predator fell into step beside him, its great head held high, but its attention focused entirely on its chosen human. Behind them, the Galactic Council sat in stunned silence, watching as everything they thought they knew about power and dominance walked out of their arena together. In the days that followed, the story would spread across the galaxy like wildfire, growing with each telling. The beast that had never bowed, choosing to honor a human, the apex predator that had found something in humanity worth protecting. And slowly, inexorably, the galaxy's perception of the small, soft species from the third planet of an unremarkable star began to change. Perhaps, they whispered in council chambers and military academies across 1,000 worlds, they had underestimated the humans. Perhaps, there was more than one way to reach the apex. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to this channel and support us so we can post new videos every day. Your support means the world.